The wind moved softly through the empty streets as Joshua sat alone on the edge of his bed, staring at the ceiling long after midnight. Again, sleep had become a stranger to him. Every night his thoughts attacked him like waves during a storm. Regret after regret filled his mind. Why didn't I study harder? Why did I waste so many years with bad friends? Why didn't I listen to my parents? What if I never find a job? What if my life is already ruined? At only 24 years old, Joshua already felt exhausted by life. While others his age seemed to move forward, he felt stuck in the same dark place. Every morning he woke up with anxiety in his chest. He searched for jobs online for a few minutes, then spent the rest of the day worrying instead of acting. His mind never rested. When he walked through town, he compared himself to everyone he saw: the businessman in the suit, the student carrying books, the mechanic working confidently in his garage. Joshua felt like a failure. Years earlier, he had fallen into the wrong group of friends. They laughed at school, skipped classes, wasted nights partying, and mocked anyone who worked hard for their future. Back then it seemed fun. Now those same friends had disappeared. Some moved away. Some had their own lives. Some still wasted their days exactly as before. But Joshua remained trapped between regret for the past and fear of the future. One cold afternoon, the pressure inside him became unbearable. His thoughts were so loud that he could hardly breathe. Without thinking, he put on his jacket and left the house. He walked through the streets with no destination in mind. He only wanted silence. He walked past shops, past crowded roads, past the edge of town. Still, his mind tortured him. What if I destroyed my own future? What if it's too late? What if I never change? So he kept walking. Hours passed. The city disappeared behind him, replaced by open fields and quiet country roads. The sun slowly lowered toward the horizon, painting the sky orange and gold. Eventually, Joshua reached a tiny village near a forest. It was peaceful there, no traffic, no noise, only the sound of birds and the wind moving through the trees. As he walked deeper into the village, he noticed a small old house near the forest edge. Sitting outside on a wooden bench was an elderly man with gray hair and kind eyes. A steaming cup of tea rested beside him. The old man looked calm, not the kind of calm people pretend to have, real calm, the kind Joshua had not felt in years. The old man noticed him standing there. "You look tired, son," he said gently. Joshua forced a weak smile. "I am." The old man pointed toward the empty place beside him. "Sit down." For some reason, Joshua did. For a few moments neither of them spoke. The old man simply poured another cup of tea and handed it to him. The warmth of the cup felt comforting against Joshua's cold hands. Finally, the old man asked quietly, "What is hurting your heart so much?" And suddenly everything came out. Joshua spoke about his regrets, about wasting years of his life, about bad friends, about missed opportunities, about fear, about sleepless nights, about feeling worthless. The words poured out of him like water breaking through a dam. The old man listened carefully without interrupting him once. When Joshua finally finished speaking, he lowered his head in shame. "I ruined my life," he whispered. The old man was silent for a moment, then he smiled softly. He said, "You are simply carrying a weight you were never meant to carry alone." Joshua looked at him in confusion. The old man leaned back and looked toward the forest. "Tell me something," he began. "When you enter an airplane, do you know the pilot personally?" Joshua shook his head. "And yet you trust him to carry you safely through the sky." The old man continued, "When you ride a bus, do you know the driver? No. When you eat in a restaurant, do you know the cook? No. You trust people you barely know every single day," the old man said gently. "But you struggle to trust the one who created you, the one who knows every wound in your heart before you even speak." Joshua remained silent. The words struck deeply. The old man looked directly at him. "Worrying changes nothing, son. Worrying about tomorrow will not fix yesterday. Regret cannot change the past, and fear cannot control the future." Joshua stared into his tea. "I can't stop thinking," he admitted. "Because you are trying to control everything," the old man replied calmly. "You carry tomorrow on your shoulders as if the whole world depends on you." The old man pointed toward the trees. "Look at the birds. They do not spend their days panicking about tomorrow, yet God feeds them." Then he looked back at Joshua. "You must learn to let go." Joshua swallowed hard. "But what if things still go wrong?" The old man smiled sadly. "They will. For For the first time, pain appeared in the old man's eyes. Wife became very sick many years ago, he said quietly. Joshua listened carefully. She was the kindest person I had ever known. When the doctors told us she was dying, I broke apart inside. The old man's voice trembled slightly. I worried day and night. I cried. I feared losing her every second. He paused, but all my worrying changed nothing. It only destroyed me while she was still alive. Joshua's chest tightened. One morning, the old man continued softly, she took her last breath. The forest became completely silent. I thought my life was over, the old man whispered. I was angry, broken, empty. I regretted everything. I thought about all the things I could have done differently. A tear rolled slowly down his cheek. Then someone told me about God's love. The old man looked upward. They told me that God does not ask us to carry every burden alone. So one night I fell to my knees and gave him everything. My anger, my grief, my fear, my loneliness, smiled faintly. And little by little the weight became lighter. Joshua listened with tears forming in his own eyes. I realized something, the old man said. God already knew every mistake I had made, yet he still loved me. I stopped hating myself for the things I could no longer change. Old man placed a hand on Joshua's shoulder. You cannot begin a new life while constantly staring at your old one. Those words pierced directly into Joshua's heart. The sun had nearly disappeared now, and the sky was turning dark blue. The old man stood slowly. Come, he said kindly. Let us pray together. The small house, everything felt warm and peaceful. A small lamp glowed softly beside old wooden shelves. The old man and Joshua knelt together. At first Joshua did not know what to say. But then, for the first time in years, he spoke honestly from his heart. He told God about his fears, his regrets, his shame, his exhaustion, and as he prayed, something unexpected happened. The pressure inside him began to loosen. It felt as though the heavy chains around his heart were slowly breaking apart. Tears streamed down his face, not tears of despair, tears of release. When the prayer ended, Joshua sat there silently, breathing deeply. The noise inside his mind had finally become quiet. The old man smiled warmly. Peace does not come when life becomes perfect, he said softly. Peace comes when you place your life into God's hands. Joshua left the house later that evening under a sky full of stars, but he was no longer the same man who had arrived there. As he walked home, his problems had not magically disappeared. He still needed a job. He still needed to rebuild his life. He still needed to work hard, but now he carried hope instead of fear. And for the first time in many years he felt free. From that day forward, Joshua stopped living inside his regrets. Instead of worrying from morning till night, he began taking small steps forward. He learned new skills, worked hard, and prayed whenever fear returned. Life did not become easy overnight, but his heart became lighter. And slowly his life began to change, because a peaceful mind can carry a person much farther than an anxious one. Moral of the story. Sometimes the greatest prison is not failure, but the endless fear and regret inside our own minds. Worry cannot change the past or control the future, but faith, peace, and trust in God can give strength to face both. When you stop carrying every burden alone and place your fears into God's hands, your heart finally becomes free enough to truly live.